We're now joined via video link by Gauteng Provincial Spokesperson Vuyo Mhaga. Vuyo, very good afternoon to you. Just having listened to some of those community members and others throughout the day, I mean, you kind of see the picture from the ground. There's been a lot of criticism there, just from communities, Riverlea, Diepkloof, saying they've been excluded in the main from the G20 preparations. Give us a sense of your assessment from today's engagement.
No, I think today's engagement was actually quite fruitful. It was quite welcomed, and I think, and we have said, I mean, the Premier has also invited part of his subcommittee political session in preparation of the G20 that sits every Tuesday, all the councillors within that area to be part and parcel of this particular event. But what was also important for us is that we don't go to Nasrec and then we start, people see people coming through, but they've never really been engaged what this whole G20 is all about. Where are the areas? Because there have been meetings throughout. We've been in Soweto, I think at least I for one, I think about 3 times throughout the continuous engagement, try to showcase some of the other areas. But what was important today is also try to bring people of Nasrec neighboring communities to say, what have we done as government up to so far, so that we're able to journey with them, but importantly also to get some of the feedbacks on some of the issues that we might not necessarily have seen, so that as government, we together with them were able to basically implement.
I want to just go back to what one of the community members said, speaking there to my colleague, saying that, together we can make South Africa, great. She's talking essentially about community-centric solutions. You spoke just now about the various, meetings, working groups, as well as engagement groups leading up to the Leaders Summit. How are you going to funnel some of these issues that are being addressed by these community members, particularly when you look at the fact that you say you've been to Soweto, 3 times? There's other communities in South Africa. One would imagine that before that Leaders Summit in November, you would have touched basically the entire country, and you would then be able to represent those communities, as a government when the Leaders Summit happens in November.
No, you're quite correct. I mean, I know, for example, ministers have been across our country to make sure that they really carry this message. Tomorrow, the Gauteng government will be in Mahupane together with the Department of Labour, also about the same thing, almost on a weekly basis. We are trying to engage with communities, but not only that, but also organized formation. We'll be meeting with the business guys around Johannesburg. We are actually trying to engage with the colleagues at sport, as also the public transport system, because there'll be a lot of people beyond, the officials that are coming in. And the issue now, how then do we make sure that all of us who are coming in, the taxi industry, the e-hailing, the guys that are in the meter taxis, and also how do you showcase Gauteng and using this particular opportunity. So throughout, almost on a weekly basis, we'll continue to engage these communities. As I've said, I know ministers have been in different communities, also try to really explain what this G20 is all about and how as a country are we starting to ready ourselves to basically respond to this. And that's what we came here to do to the people of Soweto.
So how will Gauteng showcase itself come November at that G20's summit? What is the readiness of Gauteng at this moment, and particularly Johannesburg?
No. I think you are quite correct. If you look at the infrastructure alone, you will have seen if you commute between Johannesburg and Tshwane, or you are using R21, you see a lot of activities there. The road, for example, from the airport to Tshwane, the lights are starting to be up. The road is being resurfaced. M1 is basically we're doing that kind of work. The grass cutting, literally all the infrastructure that has been there, the traffic lights that have been out. There's a congregation and the work together with the provincial government as well as municipalities. And the Premier tracks that work together with the mayors every Tuesday to check how far are we to respond to some of these particular issues. But importantly, we then go to communities because there will be other NGOs that come to the space. They really want to really experience Gauteng. Will take them to the Dinogeng, in Tswane, or Cradle of the Humankind, or all our other areas, and we'll also speak to the hospitality industry to make sure that we bring them up on board, and then we're able to then plan together with them to make sure that we showcase our province. Because if those visitors come, ultimately they'll be able to bring their families and obviously their friends back in the country, and that will trickle down to obviously job opportunities and ultimately the growth of our economy.
Are you able to, at this point in time, give us a sense in terms of a number in as far as the readiness is concerned, particularly when you look at the infrastructure? I mean, there's a lot of concern, particularly in Johannesburg, concern also that come the leadership summit, you will be concentrating only on G20 friendly routes as opposed to really looking at the systemic issues around our communities.
No, work is being done throughout. I think if you are able to go, to the State of the Province address by the Premier, he actually outlined about 13 problems and mostly those problems are problems located in the local government municipalities, water being one of them. The work is being done there. The issue of the electricity, the issue of the CBDs, the decay of the CBDs and the cleanliness of that, there is a team that is basically working on that. I can guarantee you now, because as I'm saying, this is the work outside the G20 that is part of our State of the Province address commitments that the Premier is continuously monitoring to make sure that we are able to execute. And having looked at the report, and we not only actually receive the reports, the Premier actually goes to see the sites. So if you will have been, there's a street in Sentin that there was a problem with a sewer busting. He literally goes and inspects those areas that we say they are there. We have actually rolled out together with some of the private sector about 8,000 cameras, and that we are starting to see some of the arrests that are done, obviously using that. And even if you look around, the precinct of Nazareth, that work is there in terms of the cameras. Last week he was in Soshanguve installing another additional 25 cameras, and that's what we're starting to see now. And even if you listen in terms of the crime that is basically happening, you'll hear that the police in KZN will then say, no, through the cameras that are in Gauteng, we're able to then see, some of these criminals driving to the entry into KZN. So we're changing the manner that we're doing or fighting crime, and we're able to use technology. But what is important, we're also taking people along in terms of the progress, in terms of the infrastructure. So I'm quite confident around the arrival of the world leaders, Gauteng will be ready and Johannesburg will be ready.
Just as we wrap up very quickly, in light of just the numbers, what are we speaking about here in terms of your budget? Because we know there's been a lot of talk around various amounts, 700 million rands also being thrown there, saying that, the private sector must assist with this budget. What does Gauteng's budget look like?
No, that I think is a separate issue. That is for national dialogue, not necessarily for the G20. No, what we have done is that we are using the budget of Gauteng of service delivery. So the idea is that let's shift that budget as a response to the work that we are going to do it in any case. For example, the fixing of the roads, the fixing of the lights, the traffic lights and all that. There is a budget for that. So the idea now just fast track that particular work. So there's not been a money that will have been set aside to say this money is dedicated for the G20. So the only message is that fast track the work and make sure that we're able to deliver as when the visitors basically to come. We're actually obviously in the right state of setup. So the money that I think you're referring to is the money of the national dialogue, not necessarily of the G20.
All right, so no specific amount then that you can share with us for Gauteng's budget for this year?
No, as I'm saying, is the amount that we're using is the money that is being located in different departments. So the roads infrastructure will be located for the Department of Roads to do the roads. The environment will be located to make sure that they clean up the CBDs and the work that they are doing. The colleagues at health will obviously then start to do that work. So it is the money that has always been embedded within the system. But now there's a coordination of the provincial government as well as local government to really put a focus in some of the other areas that are dealing with that, but together within the similar budget. So there's not been an additional budget that is dedicated towards the G20 from national, because as you know, we get our money from there, but we are using the money that they normally provide us basically to fast track the service delivery.
All right. Thank you so much, Vuyo, for your time. That is Gauteng Provincial Spokesperson Vuyo Mhaga there for us.